What's going on, Internet? IG here again today, back from a 3-week vacation, and it's time to have a look at a recent release that is kind of major in the Linux world, and that is Mageia 4. So Mageia 4 is out and available, and it's one of those distributions that has quite a history to it. It was based on Mandriva a long time ago, and the majority of the Mandriva developers left the parent company and forked their own community-based distribution, also known as Mageia. Now here we are 4 releases later, and the project has matured a lot, and it's turned into a very reliable operating system. So this is the default desktop for Mageia 4, and that is of course the KDE Plasma desktop. Now, because it is a relatively recent release, you also have a pretty recent release of KDE as well, which is sitting in at around 4.11.4, which means that you're going to get all of the perks of the recent KDE releases. Now, Mageia is a community-driven distribution, so it actually offers nearly every desktop environment that is out there. So you can see here, if I go to log out, I've installed from the standard DVD, and I've installed both the GNOME and the KDE desktop environments. So if I log in here at the login screen and choose a different desktop environment, you can see here I've just got GNOME and KDE 4 by default, but you can add and install as many as you like through the DVD installer. Now, of course, if you only use the live CD, then you're only going to be presented with the desktop that comes with the live CD. But you can see here we're running GNOME 3.10 here without any issues at all. Now, one thing that I do like about Mageia, and this seems to be something that they've really developed in this last release, is this welcome screen. Now, this isn't entirely new. Distributions like Linux Mint have been providing welcome screens for new users since they began, essentially. But you've got some very good links here to documentation, to support, and to the different community links. But more importantly, you've got a list of recommended and featured applications that you can install straight from the welcome screen. Now, I reckon this is a fantastic way of introducing new users to the software that's available on Linux. So it gives them audio codecs, video codecs, Flash, Skype, Firefox, all of the best open source applications that the Linux desktop has to offer. And then all of the ones that aren't open source, such as Skype and Flash, they do label them as such so that people know what apps are open source and which ones aren't. Now, they've also got categories for games, for internet, for video, audio, graphics, system, and programming. And all of these are kind of like the cherry-picked best of the best that the Mageia team believe are the best examples of what is available on the Linux desktop. So I think this is a fantastic way to introduce new users to their desktop, just to show them what their new system is capable of. And I would agree with many of the app choices that they have made. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a fully featured software center, but they do have a link to their software center called RPM Drake. And once you give it a root password, then you can jump in and actually manage the packages like you would in a normal Mageia release. Now, a lot of the tools that Mageia has available for the distribution are based on the DrakeConf tools from the Mandriva days. And to be honest, there really hasn't been too much that has changed since then, but you can see here when you go into the Mageia Control Center after giving it your root password again, then you've got those different options such as software management, managing your hardware, network internet system, network sharing, local disk security, and boot. Essentially, this is a one-stop shop for all of the customization and all the configuring that you might need to do in your system, including your different graphics cards or different hardware that you might want to set up, such as printers, keyboards, mouse, touchpad, sound, etc. It's also good here to configure any proxy settings that you might need to use if you want to access the internet, and also editing things such as your host definitions file, or doing system level tweaks such as managing, adding, removing fonts, adding localization or language support for different countries. And they've also got a fantastic feature here for adding and removing snapshots. Now, if you are using the BTRFS file system, which if you don't know what that means, it's basically a file system that allows you to take images or snapshots of your system at a current time, and you can roll back to that system image if you're having issues with your computer. Also, we do have a tool here to import Windows documents and settings, which is pretty useful. So really, this Mageia Control Center is just a fantastic collection of tools that have matured and grown nicely over the last couple of releases under the Mageia leadership, but at the same time, these tools go way back into Mandriva days, which is back into the 90s. So it's got a very good heritage behind it, and it's great to see the Mageia team still going strong with what they are providing today. Now, as far as software management goes, you can pretty much find any package that you might want or need. The software repositories that Mageia has enabled are the core repository, the tainted, which is some open source but some licensing issues, and also completely non-free, such as Skype and Flash and apps like that. That way users know what software they're accessing from where, and they also know the licensing issues that might come around those different bits of software. Having said that, they don't make it hard for the new user to use whatever software they choose, and I think for that, Mageia deserves some thumbs up. So let's have a look at what apps come pre-installed. Now bear in mind again, this collection of software comes with the DVD install, so you are going to be downloading a 3.7 gig ISO. Now if you download one of the live CDs, then they are going to provide you with a great selection of software, but it's going to be tailored to the desktop environment that you're running. What do I mean by that? Basically, if you're running a GNOME desktop or a GTK based desktop, you're going to be provided with a lot of GTK apps, whereas if you're running a K desktop environment, the KDE Plasma desktop, then they're going to provide you with a lot of the KDE apps to help integrate the system more effectively and give you a more unified looking operating system. But as you can see here, there are plenty of options here under Internet, under Office. You guys can read, so I'll let you figure it out, but they do have some of the hallmark open source apps such as Scribus, LibreOffice, Audacity, Kdenlive, Firefox and GIMP and Inkscape. So they do have pretty much all of the open source heavyweights here, and overall it's a very well balanced selection of software available out of the box from a new Mageia install. As far as performance goes, you can see that I'm using about 700 megs of 2 gig of RAM, so it is quite thirsty, but I have been logging in and out between different desktops as well, so I've got quite a few libraries open and running. Performance doesn't seem to take a hit because of it though. It still seems to be relatively snappy, and it's also been very stable and reliable. Mageia, in my mind nowadays, is becoming one of those distributions that is one of the big players in the Linux world. It has a fantastic ecosystem, it has a great community behind it, it has a lot of hardware support baked into it, and the configuration tools that they provide are very user-friendly and also very comprehensive with managing nearly everything that there is to know about your system. It might look a little bland out of the box, but of course both GNOME and KDE are very customizable and they can be tricked out however you desire. And it is worth mentioning that the KDE Plasma desktop does look a lot like what Windows XP and Windows 2000 did back in the day. Although they do look a bit more modern, they still have that same traditional desktop paradigm happening here. So it should be fairly easy for new users to adjust to the KDE Plasma desktop, and they should have plenty of fun with all of the widgets and customization that is available in the KDE Plasma desktop. Mageia has a lot to offer, so I definitely recommend that you check it out, especially if you're looking for a stable machine with some up-to-date software and very comprehensive tools. It's a very solid release, and I am considering this distribution as a daily driver. So there you have it. Mageia 4, highly recommended. Thank you for watching, like the video if it did indeed help you out, and subscribe if you like this content on a regular basis. I'll be back in the near future having a look at Zorin OS 8. And as always, let me know of any distributions or apps that you'd like me to look at, and I'll add them to the list. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen.